Oh, I'm so glad to be back with you. So here I was, studying, learning to embrace my sensitivity instead of feeling conscious about it. Going forward, as I became more enlightened, life again going on, raising children, marriage deteriorating a little bit, becoming a little bit more challenging because we were thinking very differently. Having met new friends. Now, I had originally dropped out of high school when I first got married. I went back after my son was born and got my high school diploma, and met a lady on the beach who I considered myself, if you will, a dumb waitress who once said to me, "I have college professors who are not as intelligent as you." I wasn't too sure what that meant at the time. Took me by the hand and actually dragged me back to college. So at that point I went back to college and started taking some college courses and beginning to put myself together. One of the courses that I took was a world religions course at a college level and really found a fascination for it. Within the next year or two, my marriage was really struggling. A group of us in college had gotten together. We had a substitute teacher from Mullins College. He was a professor of parapsychology at the time, who walked into the room and said, "Hey folks, there's a world out there." And Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's book had just been published on Life After Life. A group of us got together and started to form our own kind of psychic investigation group. And from that, our graduation gift to ourselves after we finished our first final exam for psychology, sociology, and I think English I was taking, we took off and went to Cassadaga, Florida, and I had my very first reading. The extent of that reading and what happened at that point in my life is something that is beyond anything that I could even find a whole lot of words for. Harry Fogel did my reading, and at the time when I walked in, there was a group of us there. It was a spontaneous visit. We jumped out of the car, asked some people in the village who was open. They said that hearing might be. We called ahead. He said, "Yes, come." Got to the door, rang the bell, and he looked at me and he said, "And you're the reason that they're here, so we'll take you first." And he took me into the room, and I had never had a reading before other than my grandma's tea leaves, and they were always, I was very young, so they were very gentle little fun things. He folded his hands on his desk. He had a little desk in front of him, folded his hands. He looked at me and he said, "And who's Peter?" And he went on to give me this reading talking about my husband's physical and emotional condition and so on. He said to me, "You're a student." I wasn't a typical student. I was 30 years old at this point. And he said, "I see a blackboard over your head with psychology and sociology written on it." And at that point I was quite amazed, because this man had no way of having any idea at all of who I, what I was, who my husband was, or what I was taking in college. So I was quite impressed with his accuracy. He went on, and during the reading, he brought in an ironing board and a black dress with little flowers on it, gingham, and he saw ladybugs all over it, and then he started almost talking to me differently about what a beautiful young lady I had become and so on. I left. I understood some of the reading, some of it I didn't understand. Some of it was very meaningful, and a lot of it was very foggy, and I had no place to put all this information. I dropped the ladies I was with off home to their homes. I was the driver. I was driving down Tropical Trail by myself about an hour later when I realized that the gingham dress in the ladybugs, my grandma, because she used to sew, she made everything for us, our clothes, and she had made me a black gingham dress with ladybugs on it when I was in 2nd grade, and that it had to be ironed. When I got back to my house on Merritt Island, I ran to a box of old pictures and found the picture of the little girl in the ladybug and the denim dress with the ladybug buttons, and realized that was my grandma he brought in. And that what he was saying is because she didn't see me grow up, that she had tears, and she was saying what a beautiful young lady I was. So I swelled up in tears when the reality that was my grandma hit me. I just swelled up in tears and just had this feeling inside myself like, oh my God. You know, it was very special to have heard something from her because I hadn't seen her since I was such a little girl. And she was so special to me. About 2 weeks after this reading, my husband at the time passed, and it was a rather sudden and tragic death, and there was no warning, there was no illness, there was no way of knowing that this was going to happen. I realized as things unfolded that in this reading, Harry Fogle had given me everything that I needed spiritually to be able to carry my children and I through this tragic event. Things that I didn't understand in the reading when he gave it to me became very meaningful. There was encouragement, there was an understanding, there was a sense of the continuity of life that was very comforting. There was, even in a sense, I feel protection from me. In other words, that strength, or giving me that strength, and talking about my ability in this reading to move forward. And at the time I didn't understand it, but it certainly became very clear as things unfolded. There aren't any words that I could ever express, and actually it took me a long time to realize what a gift Harry Fogle had given to me. As everything was happening, I didn't even think about the reading, except that my girlfriend Marion and I, who I discussed the reading with, and she would kind of remind me, well, isn't that what you told me Harry said to you? And it was an unfolding kind of process of realizing the beautiful gift this man gave me. When I say there aren't enough words to express it, I don't know without that spiritual reading, without understanding the continuity of life, without embracing the inner strength which he saw in me that I didn't see in myself, that I would have been as able to bring my children and myself through this very tragic experience. And when I say forever grateful, because there is nothing it was such a gift, that there is nothing I could have ever done or even said to Harry that would ever have been able to compensate him for the gift that he gave me. It took me a while to go back to see Harry after that, although I did study with him for a while after I got back to Florida. I left Florida shortly after Peter passed and moved back home closer to family. Stayed about 6 months until I kept my home in Florida and decided that I needed to take my kids and go back to Florida because that's where my home was. And remember being very apprehensive to go back to Cassadaga, Florida and have another reading. It was so overwhelming, and it was so, actually I was almost frightened because it was so accurate, and it had hit on so many things that truly, and at the time, like I said, I didn't quite embrace yet the tremendous gift he had given me. So it was almost as though he could, whatever this man saw was much more in life than I really didn't know if I wanted to be that open again. However, with some support of some dear friends, my curiosity being much greater than anything else, and actually meeting and talking with the professor of parapsychology from Mullins University, gained enough, if you will, courage to put myself in the back car and go back to Cassadaga. And as I did, I called Harry and made an appointment, and I walked in. Now, he had only seen me the one other time, and that was 1.5 years or 2 years before, when he gave me this reading, and he never in the reading told me my husband was going to die, but he gave me everything I needed to embrace that which was happening. So he had no way of really remembering me. I walked back in, and he again was sitting at his desk, and he looked at me and he said, "I have a fellow here that wants to talk to you. He calls himself Pistol Pete." And with that, I absolutely cracked up and realized that that the communication and the forgiveness and the understanding and the embracing that this reading would bring me, which was truly remarkable. And yet he didn't say anything extremely remarkable, except that in understanding that as we judge things on the physical plane, that in the spiritual plane there's a completely different kind of judgment. With that, I started studying with Harry and continued with my classes with Monacoski, and actually also took classes with Pat Ramundo and worked through Ancient Wisdoms and began to understand the nature of the work. Harry had said to me that I was a very healing spirit and I would be a healer. So with that, and of course in my true understanding of all the spiritual nature of things, I went off to nursing school and eventually got my RN because I thought I was supposed to be a healer. After I got my RN, I studied because of my father's situation in his life of drinking, became very interested in addictions and went on to get my CAC, which was my credentialing in addictions counseling, because I was a healer, but I was not healing. I mean, I certainly heal with my hands and do the things that nurses do, but the gift of my healing was that in counseling people or working with people, and soon found myself, and even with my peers, and at the time not understanding it, but at least by now understanding a little bit of what was happening, because they would come back to me and say, I wish that I could work the way you do, I wish that I could do what you do with people. And I didn't think I was doing anything different than them. I did a psychosocial evaluation like every nurse does. And yet realizing that there was a touching in or a connectedness with that inner piece of the person that would allow a door to open for the possibility of healing to happen. And began to put that piece together. So finally, almost in my 50s by this time, or certainly in my late 40s, I finally got it together and figured out what I was supposed to at least be or try to be. And at that point is when I took my classes here at Lilydale and everything kind of came together, and found myself really connected, or so connected to Lilydale and so at home here. And after the workshops that I had taken, found that other piece of me and in a like-minded community, so it didn't take but a couple of years to find myself living here. The eye-opening introduction into mediumship has created for me a sense of my mediumship that I hold really sacred. When I first came to Lilydale, I struggled a little bit with the idea of having readings immediately judged or validated, and I found I struggled with it because for me, the reading I had didn't make sense until long after the reading took place. I hold in my heart today that same concept. I think that the most important thing in the way that I work is complete trust in spirit. I don't need to know whether or not I've been accurate. I mean, certainly I enjoy, and like anyone, embrace and truly appreciate when someone can validate continuity of life and recognize who I have brought in. I know that the healing piece of bringing in spirit loved ones, and oftentimes their messages bring forth a healing or a completeness of a relationship that was not possible while they were still on the earth plane. But I also know that our work is much greater than that, and oftentimes we have no idea what we have said to people. We don't really have a concept of what piece within that person, that inner spiritual piece that we have offered guidance for, or what situations in the physical life that it will bring this person through. So I have, if you will, dedicated my work to a degree of that being honest to spirit. Had to train myself in some things when I work platform, when I'm working at the auditorium, being very careful to oftentimes, in fact, someone this past Sunday when I was working was kind of trying to get my attention because they thought I was sending me energy, she said, because she thought I was falling asleep. But actually closing my eyes and going into a meditative state because I do not want to pick up anything psychically and have a reading ready when I'm facing the audience. I go up there completely blank and just go wherever I'm drawn and give whatever it is I'm being given. And I hold myself really dedicated to that concept. Same thing in the reading room. It's very important to me when I connect with a person to offer that which comes in spontaneously, which oftentimes offers inspiration and understanding to a person. And the first thing I would tell them is that I usually don't know what I'm talking about, and my husband would certainly tell them that that's almost always the case. I don't need to know, but they need to. And I find that working from this space of complete trust and spirit, that and certainly can validate by the letters and the people who've gotten back to me, sometimes immediately, sometimes much longer after a reading, and thanking me for a piece that I had given them, or an opportunity for them to understand something about themselves or their life that they would not have understood without their reading. Because I know that the reading I had, while it seemed simple at the time, and we went to it for a fun thing, a fluke, made such an impact on my life. I have to then believe, since I've dedicated myself to serve in this capacity, that, and it certainly may not be every person I read, and it may not be, but that there is a reason that person has come in front of me. There's a reason that person chose my house, my door, my name, whatever it was that drew them to me. And therefore, the dedication of this reading is to serve that person by maintaining that spiritual connection and offering them that insight from spirit that has nothing to do with anything I have actually learned or have developed as part of my, if you will, spiritual expression of myself.
Okay, now let me cut you there. Okay, we're getting close.
Loretto, I want to thank you for talking with me today, and thank you for the opportunity for sharing my story and my reason for being here at Lilydale. I hope that those of you who have not been to Lilydale maybe learn something through today's experience that would draw your attention to Lilydale. It's an individual experience for each person that comes here. The one thing that I know that we see consistently of people who visit Lilydale is that they do find a sense of self, a sense of peace here at Lilydale. And coming to, and even the Angel House and the all of the buildings in Lilydale and the things that you'll visit here, but like when I come to the Angel House, it's that feeling of coming together with family or coming home, and it's something that you take home with you. That's very special in a very special way. So I hope that in sharing a little bit of my journey may help you to move forward a little bit on yours. My name is the Reverend Donna Rigo, and it's my pleasure to be here today with you.
Person didn't eat for 9 years. She made this when she was in a trance for 9 years, and she didn't eat. But what we know now is she probably had multiple personalities.
Okay.
So this person she only drank water, and she was crippled, and she made this whole thing. And the other one, there's a sister one to this. It's in the Smithsonian.
My name is Eileen Gens McNamara, and the story of how I found my connection to Lilydale I think is pretty interesting. It starts way back about 30 years ago when my mother blurted out in an unguarded moment that the horrible family secret was that my great-grandmother was Jewish. I was horrified that this was a secret, but I thought, I'm going to try to find a picture of her to see if she looks Jewish. We were also told our family was from Fredonia, and that my grandfather had moved to Pittsburgh in 1918 to go to Carnegie Mellon, and we never went back. We were also told that he was the last one of his name, Gens, in the entire country, and the name had died out. So a couple things all happened at once. One is I had a reading from a psychic in Erie who told me that I would find a picture of my great-grandmother Emma, which I had looked for more than 20 years, and that I would find it and that it would be in a barn. With respect, I had trouble believing this. 3 weeks later, that's exactly what happened. Because at the same time, I moved to Erie a few years prior. I'd never even heard of Lilydale until I moved here. My friends took me up here. I loved it. I started collecting Lilydale things. And in one of my brochures, it said that the fire captain in the 1930s was Edward Gens. And I was like, Gens? There's not supposed to be any more Gens. They're supposed to have died out. So I looked in the phone book, and there's Gens all over the place up here. So I called them up. I said, are you my relative? And they said, no, but you should call a farmer named Dick Hunt. He's into genealogy. He might be able to help you. So I called him up, and I said, my name is Eileen Gens McNamara from Pittsburgh. And he goes, are you Clarence's granddaughter? And I said, yes. He knew exactly who I was. And we're talking for a while, and without my saying anything, he goes, by the way, would you like a picture of your great-grandmother, Emma? Come up to my big barn on Route 60 and I'll give it to you. I was like, okay. And it was dark, or otherwise I would have gone up right then. I went first thing in the morning. He gave me this picture, and as it turns out, he knew my family, which I had never, ever known. And my great-uncle was the train master here. My great-grandmother was a cook. They lived in the house across the street from the Maplewood. One of my cousins gave me a photograph of my grandfather and my family standing on the Lilydale ground with Chief Oskanonton's tent in the background. It was a wonderful thing. So that's how I found out the connection to Lilydale that I wasn't supposed to find out. And by the way, my great-grandmother did look Jewish, and I got a call from Portugal telling me that the family was secretly Jewish and had gone underground during the Spanish Inquisition, but that's another interesting story. But I've got another story. I was coming up to Lilydale, which I come up a lot. I was feeling down one day, so I said, God, there is no God. My friends are crazy and I'm pathetic. God, send me a sign if you're there. You shouldn't talk like that, but I did. So I came onto the grounds, and my friends were having lunch, Marty Hughes, and Marty was saying, I'm teaching an all-day course. Come take the second half for free. Sure. So I went up to the Lyceum, and everyone was sitting at a big dining room kind of table, and the table was full. So Marty said, there's a little table over there you can sit at. So I did. And time went by, and a lady from the big table decided it was too crowded and came to sit at my little table. And some more time went by. And then she was staring at me. And she said, I know you. And I was like, no. Plus I'm thinking, uh-oh, what's going on here? And to skip ahead, in retrospect, neither I nor this person had any idea how this happened, ever. So she said, I know you. And I said, no, I don't think so. And she goes, where are you from? And I said, well, I'm from Pittsburgh. And she said, I'm from Pittsburgh. What part? I said, Mount Lebanon. She said, I'm from Mount Lebanon. Now, I moved out of Mount Lebanon when I was 3, so she certainly hadn't met me there. And so I named my aunt, and she didn't know who that was. So I named my grandfather, the same grandfather, Jack Gens. And I said, and then there was my grandfather, Clarence Gens, and she goes, Jack Gens? I said, yes. She said, his wife and my grandmother were sisters. I'm your cousin, and here's why I didn't know her. Her grandmother had married a Protestant and died young, and my Catholic grandmother went and stole the children from the husband so that they wouldn't be raised Protestant. I'm just so mortifying. So he got them back shortly afterwards, but they would have nothing to do with this, which I don't blame them for. I did not know this woman existed. I don't know how she recognized me. I never found out. She didn't know. She said, well, you look a little like our great-grandmother. I look nothing like our great-grandmother. Nothing. And it is my firm belief that the spirits wanted to undo a great wrong. I really think that. I think they wanted to In fact, I'm getting a big chill. I know they did. They wanted to restore this wrong. So that's my other Lily Dale story. I actually have a bunch, but those are the two best. Thank you.
With you. And also I wanted to see if they drive the cart. I think that would be cute.
Kayla drove the cart up.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I thought Shelley was going to teach them how to drive the cart. I wanted to see that.
I told them they can have the cart. So I have two. Either one is okay.
They were
Now,
you teach, okay?
I teach. Okay.
Teach for the months. I know.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for your wonderful.
You're going to drive?
Thanks.
Alright.
Good.
Walk for a little bit. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
I call you now, your new name is For Stomach. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
May I talk to you when we walk back?
Yes, thank you.
May I walk with you?
Yeah, sure, of course.
God, no, you're not.
Thank you so much. So
You're welcome.
Very gracious.
Good,
Thank
good.
you so much.
That's nice to
That was
have on
awesome.
camera.
Yeah, good.
I'm going to follow
I
up
really
with the,
appreciate it.
golf cart thing. Oh, wow.
My golf cart's over here.
Uploading this to Facebook. That's why I'm always on this damn phone.
Be dead. He's true. He was being dead the other day. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Take care of yourself.
and I'll hear from you.
Oh no.
What happened?
Did I?
Tell him what I'm saying, but you call him down over and look at the light.
No, no, we
We'll be back.
Okay.
Please,
Chefs.
safe journey.
They're taking chefs up.
Safe journey.
Here comes your ride.
Who is driving? His other driver.
Very good. He's good. Look at Ricochet.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh.
Have a nice trip.
Oh, you're walking. Okay, bye-bye.
I'm retired, bro.